Hello everyone, welcome back to the studio. This is Carla and thank you for joining me as I bring to you another episode of Throwback Thursday. Throwback Thursdays are where I pull out my retired stash of product and we create two cards using them. So for this Thursday, I'll be using the Tasteful Textures Cling Stamp Set. You can see there's some really nice greetings in here, and there's a combination of script and print fonts on here. And then you have some other decorative elements that you can create backgrounds on your cards. It also coordinates with the Tasteful Backgrounds dies. Now, at this point, when this bundle came out, the stamp sets and the dies did not have the same name, so that just recently happened. These particular dies, they don't actually die cut in what I want to say, like a standalone type of shape. What they do is they actually just cut out the pieces in a piece of cardstock. So this is cut out using one of the Stylish Shapes dies. And then when I place this die down, it just cuts out these little pieces. This is actually something that we're going to be using for our second card. So I'll explain a little bit more about that when we get to it. So for my first card, let me bring in the pieces that I will be using for this one. To start off, I have a piece of Poppy Parade cardstock. This measures 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it at 4.25. I have a piece of this DSP. The prints in this are all like a watercolor feel. This DSP is called the See a Silhouette Designer Series paper. And with this paper, all of the prints in this kind of have that watercolor feel. So you will have your images on one side, and then the other side, it looks like watercolor that was done using what we had a couple of years ago, or maybe a few years ago, the pigment sprinkles. And so we're going to be using a little bit of this paper in our first card. Now this actually is part of a whole suite, and I haven't done a video yet, or at this point it'd be Throwback Thursday using this suite, but that will be coming at some point. So I have a piece of that DSP, and that measures 5.25 by 4, and this is the side that we're going to use. And then I have a piece of basic white. This measures 4.25 by 3. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to fold and burnish my card base. Okay, and then I'm going to take my Stampin' Seal, and I'm going to adhere this piece of cardstock on top of that. Bring this in, and actually I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm going to center that like so. And then I'm going to bring in this piece. Now, because it's a piece of white cardstock, what I like to do, so it's easier for me to stamp my greeting and line things up, I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet. This way I'm able to see this better than as if I had it directly on my white grid paper. So I'm going to bring in the greeting that says, "Good things are sure to happen." And I'm going to stamp that using my Tuxedo Black Memento ink pad. Now, on my stamps, I do not have the labels on here. So to make sure that I line this up, since it's red rubber, I can't see exactly how it's stamping like I can with a photopolymer. So when I place the stamp on the block, I look at the straight edge of the greeting that's in the print part here, and I'll just line that up with the bottom of my block, my acrylic block. And if it looks straight there, when I go to stamp, What I really need to pay attention is if the bottom edge of my block, if that's straight, then my greeting should stamp straight. So I'm going to ink this up. Okay, and then I'm going to stamp this towards the bottom. So I'm going to bring this down just a little bit so I can see. And hopefully this is straight. Okay, well, that kind of looks, it looks good. It's one of those that looks a little off to the left, but I think that's stamped pretty good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in one of the dies from the set of dies. And the one I'm going to use on here is the one that looks like it's got the flowers on it. This one right here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this and I'm going to place this on my cardstock like this. And then I'm going to run it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and it'll just cut out all those petals. So I'm going to go bring that out and I will be right back. Okay, so let me bring in my pieces. So you can see all it did was it cut out those petals from that die. Now I had used that Post-it tape, and because it's a new piece and it still has a lot of its stickiness, that's why I did put it on my hand a couple of times to remove some of it, but now there's still a little bit of that sticky residue. So all you need to do is bring in a rubber adhesive remover. Now Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell this anymore. I did get this on Amazon. In the description of the video, I do have a link to where you can find these. So I'm just going to go over carefully because of this being die cut. And I'm just going to rub this adhesive remover over it. And what it'll do is it's now nice and smooth and not tacky. It removes that bit of adhesive off of there. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my dimensionals and I'm going to add some on the back of this. So I'll add a few up here, and then I'm going to put a couple in here near the design itself. And then I'm going to add some down here. Okay, now before I go and I place that on top of it, I'm actually going to put on my embellishments on here. So for my embellishments, I do have, where'd I put it? I do have it. Here we go. I have my rhinestone basic jewels. These are in our annual catalog. And then I'm going to bring in my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm going to take some of these medium-sized ones here, and I'm going to place them in the center of these flowers, but I'm not going to put one in this middle one here. I am going to use some black baker's twine, and I'm going to add a little bow right there. So I'm going to put it in these four right here. And then I'm going to bring in my glue dots. Now these glue dots are from a past paper pumpkin kit, so I'll be using these up. And I'm going to add one in the middle here. Get rid of that little paper backing. And then I'm going to bring in my black baker's twine. This baker's twine comes from the Baker's Twine Essentials pack. So you have what looks like, I think this is gray granite, very vanilla, crumb cake, basic white, and then there's a basic black. So I'm going to create just a little bow. Okay. And then I'm going to twist my loops so that way they won't be all curled up like that is. And I'm going to hold that at the knot, and then I'm going to pull down on that tail. And that should give me a loop that's not all twisted up. And I'll do the same thing on this side. Kind of twist it the way I want it. Pull it out just a little bit. Okay. It's really twisted here. Okay, so then I'm going to hold it right here, and I'm going to pull on the tail so that way I have a smaller loop. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my snips, and I'm going to snip it off of there, and then I'm going to add my bow right here in the center of that flower like so. So now I'm going to remove my paper backings off of my dimensionals. And of course you can place this down on your card base first and then add all your embellishments if you want. It works either way. And I do have my pop-up trash bin over here, so when you keep seeing me like lean across that way, that's why. Okay, and we got another backing here. Okay, so then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to center it like so. Okay, so now you have this really pretty intricate design right here from the die, and then you can see some of this DSP not only on the outside of it but also within the design as well. So there is our first card. On to our second. Okay, so for my second card, excuse me, I have a piece of basic white thick. This measures 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. And then I have a piece of regular basic white that measures 5.25 by 4. So on this piece right here, again, I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet that I put right behind me. I'm going to bring that in so that way it's a little bit easier for me to stamp on here. So I'm going to take the greeting that says, "Take time to do what makes your soul happy," and I'm going to stamp that using Smoky Slate ink. So I'm going to ink this up. And again, because I don't have the labels on, I lined my stamp up since this is the printed font that I looked at the top edge of that and I kind of lined it up with the edge of my block. I'm going to bring this down just a little bit so it makes it a little bit easier for me to see where I'm stamping this. And I'm going to stamp this over here like around the middle area and off to the right hand side. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to stamp it right there. Okay, now the Smoky Slate it looks a little dark here, but as it dries, it will lighten up some. So I'll set that aside. And then, now for this part of it, that little piece that I showed you ahead of time, this one right here, this sample here. So what I did was I had taken a piece of basic white cardstock and I die cut it using this die. This die comes from the Stylish Shapes dies. These are currently available and I used the largest square that's in here. And when I die cut this piece of white cardstock, what I did, now you have to make sure that when you go to run this through that your dies are going to be secure, because this piece right here, it just fits in this die. Now when I cut this out, I cut it out all in one shot. Now you can die cut this first and then die cut this in the middle of it. Basically what I was creating for myself was a template, because what I did with all of these little pieces in here, I ahead of time, because it was going to take a while, instead of speeding up my video for a long time for this part or having to speed it up twice, ahead of time I did some die cutting of some different colors of cardstock. So I basically looked at this piece and I die cut like this part here in Pretty in Pink, and then these three little pieces here I did in Peach Pie. This whole row here was Lemon Lolly, then Lemon Lime Twist, Balmy Blue, and Highland Heather. So that's what I have in this little container right here. And the part that I speed up will be when I go to place all those little bits in here. So before I go and do this part, let me go ahead and let me fold and burnish this card base. Now this card, it's a simple, clean looking card, but it does, if you're going to die cut a bunch of different colors to do this technique, it will take a little bit of time to do. So this would be one of those cards that you may not look to mass produce. Okay, so there's my card base. I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to bring this piece in, and then what I've done on the back of this die cut, I've added a little bit of my Stampin' Seal on here. So it is still a little bit tacky. I'm going to take this and I'm going to line this up right over here. Now I want to try and have it straight to this edge, and also to have about the same amount of space between the top and the bottom as well. So this looks good. So I'm going to kind of press this down. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my liquid glue. This is the Tombow multi-purpose glue. This is our, let me show you what the bottles look like. This is what we sell in what we currently sell in our annual catalog. And I just taken it and put it in this little fine tip glue bottle that I got off of Amazon. The link for this is also in the description of the video. This glue has a latex in it, so it sticks really, really well. So a little bit is all you need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this glue and I'm going to put it in these little cut out areas, and then I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool, so the putty end of my Take Your Pick tool. Now this looks like it's like not as sticky, so I'm going to remove some of that, and then I'm going to tighten this a little bit so more comes out, and then I'm going to loosen it up so it doesn't come out like, you know, toothpaste coming out of the tube. So I got some of that putty right there. So this is what I'm going to use to pick up my pieces to put in here. So I'm just going to take these and I'm going to just dump these out, make sure I got everything, because there is a peach pie piece there that's really, really tiny. And so that's what I'm going to do. And this is the part where I will speed it up as I'm putting these pieces in, because it is a time consuming step. So sit back and enjoy the music, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have all my pieces glued into all these open spaces from the die. Now, what's nice about this, you can do something like this where you can do it all like say in blues or maybe aquas, or you can do like a monochromatic and do, from light to dark as well. So there's a lot of different possibilities. Now, this is with this die. You could easily do the same thing with the die that we used on our first card as well. There is another die in this set that it does have some smaller pieces to it. So to do this kind of technique on it, I don't think it would work. I mean, unless you did like the center pieces, these round pieces within it, because you see there's all these little petals. That could be really, really tedious if you were to try to do it with that. But it's possible you can do it with this die too. There's only 3 dies in this set of dies here. Now, when you get your dies, this is the type of packaging that Stampin' Ups come in. What I do is, because the print of the name of the dies is kind of small, I want something to where I'd be able to easily find it. So I used my label maker to create the name. And then this image, it's an image out of that I cut out of an extra catalog that I have. If I don't have the catalog image like this, because now our catalogs do look a little bit different, what I do is I print out the image, cut it out, and I'll put it in the case so then I can see what dies are in here, so to make sure I don't have any missing. And also, if I'm just looking for a die that maybe it's a label or maybe some kind of decorative image, as I'm skimming through them, then I can see exactly what's in the set. So that's something extra that I do. Okay, so now that I got all these pieces glued down in all those little open spots, I'm going to carefully remove this, because remember, you have adhesive on the corners of this, so you don't want to tear your cardstock, and you also don't want to rip up all those little pieces that you just glued in. So I'm going to carefully pull this off. So, okay, so there we go. We got all of these pieces laid down. Now you can always keep this if you want to create another card at another time. But here's now, because of that adhesive, there is a little bit that is on here. So just like I did before, I'm going to bring in my adhesive remover, and that will clean that all up. You don't need much of the adhesive. Like I said, when you put a little bit on that cardstock, you can put your finger on it to remove some of the sticky from it. But again, if you want to be careful when you pull off that mask, because you don't want to tear the cards, your cardstock, because that is your card front, or a layer to your card front. Okay, so now what I'm going to do with this piece, I'm going to bring in my dimensionals. And I'm going to add some on here. I'm going to place a little bit more because I don't want my card all saggy. You don't want no saggy middles. Okay. Then I'm going to make sure these are pressed down. And I'm going to remove these paper backings. And then we got this side here. Okay, then I'm going to bring in my card base, and I'm going to center this on here, like so. Okay, and then I'm going to glitz this up some. So I'm going to bring in those rhinestones again. This time I'm going to use one of each of the different sizes in here. So I have a large one here and got one here and then the tiny one up here. Now I'm not done yet. I'm going to bring in my clear Wink of Stella. And I'm just going to brush some of this Wink of Stella on my colored pieces. Now as I put it on, you can see the brush marks from the Wink of Stella, but as this dries, you won't see that. All you will see is all the little sparkles that the Wink of Stella leaves. And you can see that my stamped image, it did lighten up. You can see some brush marks there, but again, as it dries, you won't see that. Okay, and then we got our last piece up here. Okay, there we go. There is our second card. So let me bring in the first one that we did. So we did this one where we let the DSP really do all the work on this card. And then we did this nice simple one where we used the die and we just paper pieced the design together using different colors of cardstock. Again, Pretty in Pink, Peach Pie, Lemon Lolly, Lemon Lime Twist, Balmy Blue, and Highland Heather. So if you like these projects, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel and then click on the notification bell. It will let you know whenever I have posted a video or when I go live. I do go live every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. This coming Friday, I will be featuring the big mega suite that's in our annual catalog called Unbounded Beauty. So I hope you can join me, and if you can, I would appreciate, if you watch the replay. So, and leave comments, all of that stuff, leaving comments, subscribing, liking, all of that stuff, really helps in not only growing my channel, but it also helps me in growing my Stampin' Up! Business. And I appreciate any help at all. So until tomorrow night, and then next Thursday, I will make mention, really quick, that I mentioned tomorrow night is my Friday Night Live, and I'll be featuring the Unbounded Beauty suite of products. And then this coming Sunday will be September 1st, and on the 1st of each month, I do monthly Christmas card inspiration. So this coming Sunday, I will have a video out using the So Very Merry stamp set that is currently in our online exclusives. And then next Thursday, I will be featuring the Simply Sparkling bundle. Now, this is a bundle. It was in our online exclusives. I was going to use it for my last Friday Night Live. However, when I went to look in the online store, it turns out the dies are still available, but the stamp set is gone. So it doesn't say currently unavailable, so that means that the stamp set's not coming back. So I had to ship things around and do something else this past Friday. So I will be using the Simply Sparkling for my Throwback Thursday next week. So again, thank you everyone for joining me. If you're living in an area where it's really hot, stay cool. If you're in an area where you're dealing with any storms and all that, stay safe. And everyone have a blessed one, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.